You're watching Vnews Bulletin. I'm Vungo presenting you today top stories as usual.
President greets young Japanese parliamentarians. Condolences extended over death of Raymond Dien, a great friend to Vietnam. And later on, poetry photographic book on General Staff debuts.
President Winston Fook on August 24th hosted a reception for a delegation from the Youth Division of the Liberal Democratic Party of Japan.
President Winston Fook held the visit by the Youth Division of the Liberal Democratic Party of Japan. He said the visit contributes to promoting the comprehensive strategic partnership for peace and prosperity in Asia. The Vietnamese state leader said Vietnam wishes to promote relations with Japan via all party and state channels and people-to-people exchanges. He spoke highly of the role played by young people and parliamentarians in developing the Vietnam-Japan relations, affirming that Vietnam strongly supports the enhancements of the relationship between young generations of the two countries in general and young parliamentarians in particular. For his part, Suzuki Norikaru, member of the House of Representatives who led the Japanese delegation, said the delegation had worked with representatives of the Vietnamese National Assembly's Young Parliamentarians Group and the Ho Chi Minh Communist Youth Union Central Committee to discuss measures to strengthen the relationship between young people and parliamentarians of the two countries. This is the fourth time the Liberal Democratic Party of Japan has sent young parliamentarians to Vietnam.
Prime Minister Pham on August 24th requested thorough consideration and prudence during the revision of the land law, which deals with a wide scope and relates to many other laws.
Addressing a government meeting on the draft revised laws on land, meeting cooperatives and prices, the Prime Minister also pointed out that the land law is a difficult and sensitive one, since it covers a wide scope, relates to many parties and different laws, and is facing many issues in reality. The revised law must institutionalize the parties' relevant resolutions, tackle difficulties to facilitate resources for development, streamline administrative procedures, and scrap bureaucratic hurdles for people, businesses, and organizations, and ensure its consistencies with related laws, he said. The government leader also demanded the laws content be understandable and conducive to enforcement, supervision, and examination, asking for stronger digital transformation in land management, corruption fight, power decentralization, resource allocation, and tools for enhancing supervision to detect any problems in a timely manner. Prime Minister Chinh asked the drafting body to take in opinions of government members, experts, scientists, and the parties covered by the land law to finalize and submit the drafts to the National Assembly this September.
The party's Central Committee's Commission for External Relations has sent a message of condolences to the French Communist Party over the death of its veteran member Raymond Dien, who is a great friend of Vietnam.
The Commission for External Relations of the party's Central Committee also extended sympathy to the family of Raymond Dien, who is a symbol of the fight against the war by the French colonialists in Vietnam. Raymond Dien, a member of the French Communist Party and a symbol of the fight against the war by the French colonialists in Vietnam, passed away on August 19th at the age of 93. Born on May 13, 1929 in the western part of France, she is known by the Vietnamese and other peoples in the world for lying on the rail to block a train carrying tanks and other weapons to Indochina on February 23, 1950. Later, she joined other French communists in their support to the Vietnamese people in the fight against the French colonialists and U.S. imperialists for the struggle for peace for Vietnam. On September 2, 2004, she was decorated with the Friendship Order by the Vietnamese state. Even in her last days, she still joined various events of Vietnam, especially those in support of Vietnamese victims of Agent Orange.
Moody's, one of the big three credit rating agencies in the world, has just raised Vietnam's 2022 growth forecast to 8.5%, the highest among Asia-Pacific economies.
Vietnam is also the only economy in the region that has been revised upwards by Moody's. With its forecast, this is also the organization that gives the highest forecast of Vietnam's GDP growth in 2022. Moody's experts said that Vietnam's economy reopened somewhat slowly at the beginning of the year, but has now accelerated, especially in the field of industrial production and exports. The economy is also supported by the continued inflow of foreign direct investment, it added. Based on July data, although Vietnam's export decelerated, Moody's experts believe that demand will be stable in the U.S. market due to the country's strong labor market. Moody's also warned of risks associated with unexpected inflation due to supply chain disruptions. This can reduce people's demand for goods and services, including housing.
Vietnam's tourism sector is poised for strong growth over the next 5 years, with international tourism receipts expected to surpass pre-pandemic levels in 2024, according to the Business Times of Singapore.
The Daily cited Fitch Solutions' latest report as saying that Vietnam's tourism sector is forecast to record some $11.1 billion in revenue in 2024, which would exceed the $10.8 billion earned in 2019 before the COVID-19 pandemic broke out. The takings are projected to rise to around $13.2 billion by 2026, with more than 22 million arrivals in the country. After the pandemic, Vietnam is increasing incentives to gradually make up for the losses in the pandemic. Data from Google Destination Insights show that Vietnam is among the leading international destinations where accommodation demand surges this year. There are an estimated 100 hotel projects currently under construction in the country. Observers held that this is a strong signal indicating that these markets will continue growing in the coming years, the Business Times reported.
Prices of plane and train tickets to tourist destinations for coming National Day, September 2 holiday have cooled down, and many are still available.
With a 4-day holiday from September the 1st to 4th, people still have a chance to choose their favorite destinations. Especially for flights on September the 1st on Hanoi-Nha Trang route, Vietnam Airlines offers one-way tickets from 1.7 million Vietnamese dong or $73, while Vietjet Air sells 1.5 to 2.4 million Vietnamese dong, inclusive of tax and fees, and Bamboo Airways over 2 million Vietnamese dong. From September 2nd, many cheaper tickets will be available at below 1 million Vietnamese dong one way. During the holiday, Vietnam Airlines will offer over 400,000 seats on domestic routes, up over 50% from 2019. The Vietnam Railways Corporation also plans to increase trains during the holiday at prices only 77 to 84% of those offered during peak time in summer.
A bilingual book of poems on legendary General Vo Nguyen Giap made debut in Hanoi on August 23rd on the occasion of the general's 111th birthday from August 25, 1911 to 2022.
Exhibition In the Footsteps of the General includes 110 poems by teacher, poetess, and journalist Nguyễn Thị Mỹ Dung. He has the opportunity to meet and write many poems about the general over more than 20 years.
My poetry is a poetry on history and historical characters. I convey historical events of the Điện Biên Phủ victory, with General Giap being among the typical historical figures of old times.
The poems are divided in 3 parts, with the first theme, Way to the Historic Victory of Điện Biên Phủ, recreating the sense of the military campaign under the command of General Giap. The second, theme, General in the Hearts of the People, features the simple and everyday moments of the legendary general. And the third, Shining for Thousands of Years, demonstrates the sentiments and respect of the people for the general.
The book is valuable not only for today, but also for generations to come. These are historical evidences presented in the form of poetry, and it is easy to remember and learn, reflecting the characteristics and spirit of General Giap. I think it will attract young people.
The exhibition also contains various photos by the Vietnam News Agency, journalist Trần Hồng and Sum herself on the Battle of Điện Biên Phủ in 1954, as well as capturing moments at the exhibitions on the renowned general in Hanoi in 2021 and Điện Biên early this year.
I want to keep the book in the museum for next generations. Reading it, they will understand how our fathers fought and sacrificed for peace and independence, and they know their responsibility in protecting peace for the country.
The 120-page book in Vietnamese and English was published by the Vietnam News Agency Publishing House.
Asian Plus Youth Volunteer Forum and Asian Plus Youth Volunteer Award opened in the central province of Quảng Bình on August 24th.
The 4-day event, organized by the National Committee for Youth in Vietnam and the Central Committee of Ho Chi Minh Communist Youth Union, brings together 50 volunteers from ASEAN countries and Japan. It aims to offer an opportunities for ASEAN Plus youth to exchange ideas and experience in volunteerism and introduce the culture and people of Vietnam, as well as the country's socio-economic developments to international friends. Outstanding individuals and organizations from ASEAN Plus countries are also honors at the event.
CNN has just introduced the list of 50 best street foods in Asia, including 3 from Vietnam, which are bánh mì, iced coffee, and pho.
According to the top news channel of the US, the French may have introduced baguettes to Vietnam, but the country's famed bánh mì is a unique Vietnamese creation. Like many foods on this list, the ingredients vary from north to south and east to west, is said. And in that style, a classic combination includes pork, pita vegetables, coriander, chili, and a healthy smear pâté sandwiched by a crispy, fluffy baguette. Regarding iced coffee, CNN said, served by street vendors and cafes alike, iced coffee can be enjoyed in many ways: drink it black with condensed milk, or touch of sugar, or mix with coconut milk. Sit down and make new friends on a plastic stool, or keep exploring with a chill of refreshment in hand. It recommends the Vietnamese street food to travelers around the world. The top Vietnamese street food in the list of CNN is pho. The news channel confirms that few street foods can compete with the international fame of pho. It's a roadside stores and cafes serve up bowl after bowl of this hearty noodle soup, which is known for its aromatic and new and broth, springy rice noodles, and tender protein, usually beef or chicken. It's typically served alongside a selection of fresh garnishes like herbs, bean sprouts, lamb, chili sauce, and chili slices, so you can tailor the noodle soup to your liking. CNN gave more details.
The northern province of Sơn La is holding an exhibition displaying the ancient name and capital of Vietnam on wood blocks from the Nguyen Dynasty, 1802 to 1945, and documentary heritage on the Thai and Dao ethnic minority people in the province.
The exhibition introduces 17 restored wood blocks from the Nguyen Dynasty and documents changes of the country's name and its capital, such as Đại Cô Việt, Đại Việt, and Đại Nam, to the current Socialist Republic of Vietnam, and Hanoi, the capital of 1,000 years of civilization. Nearly 30 documents and artifacts, meanwhile, present the heritage of the Thai and Dao ethnic minority people in Sơn La. Ancient Thai books and records in fields such as history, customs, laws, ethnics, geography, and belief, among others, demonstrate the aspirations for sustainable independence, prosperous development, and diversity in the nation's cultural heritage. The exhibition runs until the end of December.